True crime horrors, real-life murder mysteries that shocked the world. The murder of Sylvia Likens. More than 50 years later, the horrific and merciless murder of Sylvia Likens continues to shock Indiana. In 1965, authorities discovered the body of 16-year-old Likens lying on a filthy mattress, covered in more than 150 burns and slashes. It was obvious immediately that the young girl had starved to death, as she was little more than skin and bone. Later, it was discovered that she died from a brain hemorrhage and starvation. Gertrude Banaszewski, a mother of 7, was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. Likens' parents had hired Banaszewski $20 each week to care for her and their other daughter, Jenny. Instead, Banaszewski let her own children beat Likens and force her to eat feces. Attorney Natty Bumppo stated, "Many people have likened this to Lord of the Flies. But it was just a group of unruly children. In this scenario, an adult was present to supervise their activities. It wasn't a bunch of kids going crazy, it was children doing as they were told." Cannibal Armin Meiwes. In 2001, Armin Meiwes of Germany placed an advertisement on the cannibalism fetish website, Cannibal Cafe, searching for a well-built 18 to 30-year-old to be slaughtered and then consumed. Many people responded to the advertisement, but everyone except burned Jürgen Armando Branda got cold feet. Throughout his childhood, Meiwes dreamed that if he ate someone, they would stay with him forever and he would never be alone again. Meiwes' videotape of himself dismembering Branda is, to put it mildly, revolting. Meiwes amputated the victim's private parts, which they both tried to eat but found too chewy. Brand then attempted self-harm with 20 sleeping pills, but it failed and he slowly bled out from the amputation. Meiwes murdered Brand by slicing his throat and eating his remnants for 10 months. He was condemned to life in jail after telling a psychiatrist that his dreams about consuming people had not subsided. Albert Fish's letter? Albert Fish, a serial murderer, targeted young children in the state of New York. The vicious child torturer and murderer boasted that he had children in every state. In 1936, he was killed for the deaths of Grace Budd, 9, Francis McDonnell, and 4, Billy Gaffney. The details of the murders are only for those with a strong stomach, as Fish also admitted to cannibalizing the corpses. Fish also sent a twisted letter to Grace Budd's mother, exacerbating her distress. He wrote to her, "I grabbed her, and she said she'd inform her mother. First, I stripped her nut. But she kicked, bit, and scratched. I choked her to death before cutting her into little pieces so I could take the meat to my quarters, prepare it, and eat it. Her small act was baked so sweetly and tenderly in the oven. It took me 9 days to consume her entire body." He is regarded as one of the most diabolical serial killers in history. So, the Toolbox Killers recording. Lawrence Bittaker and Roy Norris were a wicked serial killer couple that murdered 5 females using the most heinous methods conceivable. The victims, aged 13 to 18, had been kidnapped on Southern California roadways for 5 months in 1979. The killers used an ice pick, screwdriver, vice grips, and pliers to cause them excruciating bodily pain. They also videotaped their victims' screams. The retired Los Angeles County Deputy District Attorney who prosecuted the murders was troubled by the evidence for years after the trial, saying, "I would hear the girls screaming, and I was running to get to them." Too late. The Toolbox Killers had been on death row for decades. Behind jail, Bittaker stated, "I happened to be lucky and received one of the most generous judges. They don't appear to be in any rush. I'm not either, because I don't have much planned. It was not precisely a fair trial, but I deserve to be here, so I'm not complaining." Katarzyna Zowada, the skin case. A few months later, a ship on the Vistula River comes to a halt after something becomes lodged in a propeller. What they discovered astounded everyone. Katarzyna Zowada's lost skin has been discovered. To be more specific, a suit made of human skin. Someone had severed all of the limbs and head, then made a bodysuit out of the remaining parts. It was likely worn by the killer for some time. Despite public attention and heightened police interest every few years, a culprit has never been located. Kelly Ann Bates was brutally tormented for days before her tormentor murdered her. Here are some samples of what she went through. Kelly Ann Bates, 18th of May 1978, 16th of April 1996. was a 17-year-old British teenager who was murdered in Manchester on April 16, 1996. After being tortured for 4 weeks, according to Wikipedia, Kelly's eyes were gouged out of their sockets 3 weeks before she drowned in a bathtub. Her partner, James Patterson Smith, perpetrated these horrible atrocities. According to Wikipedia, Kelly Ann Bates suffered the following exact injuries as a result of torture: scalding on her buttocks and left leg, burns on her thigh from the use of a hot iron, a broken arm, multiple stab wounds caused by knives, forks, and scissors, stab wounds inside her mouth, crush injuries to both hands, mutilation of her ears, nose, eyebrows, mouth, lips, and genitalia, wounds caused by a spade and pruning shears, both eyes gouged out, later stab wounds to the empty eye sockets, partial scalping,